Hello students. This is going to be the first in a series of videos about how to use Google Drive, Google Docs, Sheets and Slides, as well as Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. First thing I want to introduce to you in this video is how to access your Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides. Now when you go into your account, you should see something up here called a waffle. If you click on it, this will let you access your Google Drive. Once you actually get into your Google Drive, you should see a screen similar to this one. So to create a new Google document, you go over here to New. You can use Google Docs to create a Docs document. You can use Sheets to create a spreadsheet document. Or you can use Slides to create a presentation. We'll talk a little bit more about what each of these means here in a little bit, but I want to show you what their equivalent is in the Microsoft products you might be more familiar with. So Google Docs. Okay, I'm going to show you the program and I want you to think about it for a second and tell me what you think that looks like. If you said Microsoft Word, you are correct. Microsoft Word is the Microsoft version of the product. It is a word processing program that lets you create documents, insert pictures, and write a letter, for instance. Google Docs does the same thing. You can create your documents over here, format them, write letters, create resumes, anything like that. Okay? The next one I want to show you is Sheets. Okay, gonna let that load up. And if you recognize this program, go ahead and think of what that is with the Microsoft equivalent. A lot of my students that come into my class don't recognize this or its Microsoft equivalent at all. And so that's perfectly fine. That's what you're taking this class for. All right, so Google Sheets is comparable to Microsoft Excel. Okay, Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets is spreadsheeting software that lets you do a lot of very powerful things. For instance, I'll just show you an example real quick. Okay, and that's called a formula that I just entered there. We'll talk about that more when we get into the Excel/sheet portion of the class. But watch what happens if I change this number. So Google Sheets does the same thing. Okay, again, watch what happens when I change this bottom number. And like I said, we'll learn about that as we go. Okay, now one thing that's important to note, you might have seen up here where it said saving to Google Drive a second ago. That is important to know because that means that my document that I created in Google Sheets was automatically saved. Same can't always be said for Excel. Same thing for Docs versus Word. So if it's a Google product, if it's one of your Google products, you can be assured that it's going to automatically save. If it's one of the Microsoft products, you might have to manually save. We'll talk about those in a later lesson. The third program I want to show you though right now is I want to show you Google Slides. Again, I want you to take a minute and see if you recognize this program and can think of its Microsoft equivalent. All right, if you said PowerPoint, you're exactly right. So PowerPoint and Slides is presentation software. You can use this to create a presentation that you're going to give to class, for instance. As an example, I had created this very brief slideshow for another class that I was doing on social engineering, which is something else that we'll talk about in this class. But I use this to make my text interesting, add animations, different things like that. As you can see, not my typing isn't exactly perfect. And again, you can see up here, save to drive. Unlike this, which isn't going to automatically save. All right, so this video is just how to access those tools. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about what these tools do in later presentations.